Hi, welcome to the today's English class. In the previous class, we discussed about the chapter 14, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And in this class, we are going to continue the next part of it to know if she was helped by Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Alice was in a conversation with Tweedledee and Tweedledum. She thought she had offended them. So she apologized them and asked them the way to get out of the forest. They were looking like a couple of great school boys. Alice asked the boys the way out of the wood, but they weren't ready to tell her unless she asked them how do they do. The boys said, the first thing in a visit to say, how do you do? And shake hands. Alice did not like shaking hands with either of them because she knew she might hurt one's feelings by shaking the other's hand first. So, to not hurt them, she used both her hands to shake both hands at once. The next moment, they were
What made you look
dancing
up for
round
nothing?
in a ring.
Contrariwise, if you think we're alive, you ought to speak.
I'm sure I'm very sorry.
I know what you're thinking, but it isn't so nohow. Contrariwise, if it was so, it might be. But as it isn't, it ain't.
I was thinking which is the best way out of this wood. It's getting so dark. Would you tell me, please? First boy.
Nohow.
Next boy?
Contrariwise, you've begun wrong. The first thing in a visit is to say, how do you do? And shake hands.
Alice sang, here we go round the mulberry bush, rhyme, and the three of them were dancing. Soon, the fat boys were out of breath. Tweedledum said, 4 times round is enough for one dance. They let go of Alice's hands and stood looking at her for a minute. Alice didn't know how to begin a conversation with people she had just been dancing with.
Oh, I hope you're not much tired.
Nohow. So much obliged.
Now, would you please tell me which way leads out of the wood? For really, it's coming on very dark.
She can't start with how do you do, for they have gone beyond that. She said to herself, I hope you're not much tired, she said at last. They had a little conversation and Alice asked them the way out of the wood. They weren't noticing her, but they both talking to each other about the walrus and the carpenter, the longest poem, and they began singing it. Alice interrupted them and said, if it's very long, would you please tell me first which way? They stopped her, and they smiled and began singing the poem.
You could? Where? The Walrus and the Carpenter. Or the story of the curious oysters. The sun was shining on the sea, shining with all its might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright. And this was odd because it was the middle of the night. The walrus and the carpenter were walking close at hand. The beach was wide from side to side, but much too full of sand. Mr. Walrus, said the carpenter, my brain begins to perk. We'll sweep this clear in half a year, if you don't mind the work.
Work? The time has come,
The walrus said.
to talk of other things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax and cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot and whether pigs have wings. Callooh, Calais, no work today. We're cabbages and kings. oysters, come and walk with us. The day is warm and bright. A pleasant walk, a pleasant talk would be a sheer delight.
Yes, and should we get hungry on the way, we'll stop and have a bite. But Mother Oyster winked her eye and shook her heavy head. She knew too well this was no time to leave her oyster bed.
The sea's nice. Take my advice and stay right here.
Mum said.
Yes, of course. But, the time has come, my little friends, to talk of other things. Of shoes and ships and sealing wax, cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings. Callooh, Calais, come run away, where the cabbages and the kings. Well, now, let me see. A loaf of bread is what we chiefly need.
How about some pepper and salt and vinegar, eh?
Well, yes, a splendid idea. Very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin the feed.
Feed?
Oh, yes. The time has come, my little friends, to talk of food and things.
Of peppercorns and mustard seed and other seasonings. We'll mix them all together in a sauce that's fit for kings. Callooh, Calais, we'll eat today like cabbages and kings.
I weep for you. Excuse me. I deeply sympathize. For I've enjoyed your company, much more than you realize.
Little oysters. But answer there came none. And this was scarcely odd because they'd been eaten. Every one.
The time has come.
It was really a long poem, isn't it? To know a lot about it, read Alice in Wonderland. That's the end of the story, and that's the end of the today's class. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great day ahead.